you so much. That was a really, really, really good speech. I definitely had a good time listening to that. The next part that we have, I'm very excited about. It is for the Entrepreneurship of the Year Award, which will be awarded by Raymond Chen again. I wanted to say a few lines about this. Something that I know for sure was the case for me ever since a very young age is that I like to dream. I think probably everyone in this room has some sort of dream that they wish they can do one day. But after I started working in startups, after I went to college, I started realizing that if you want, actually this is for a lot of high schoolers out there. I know I saw some high schoolers here today, where in order to get that dream to become change, that's a very, very big step. A quick example is I went to Berkeley for school. Berkeley is very notorious for all the protests that they have. When I first went into college, I was thinking, oh yeah, there's all these problems. These protests are great. They're getting things done. But some of the protests that were going on, there's a lot of politics within it that make the goal very convoluted. It doesn't really always end up being what it's supposed to be. So I'm very excited to hear who's going to be getting the Entrepreneurship Award of the Year for today. And I'll be welcoming Raymond back to the stage for this.
I'm the introducer, not the award recipient, but I'm very good to be on stage the third time. Third time's the charm, right? Okay, so starting off, talk about the Entrepreneur of the Year Award, the awardee. To introduce his story, I have to show you some old pictures, please. Nothing embarrassing, right? But this is a very interesting picture, took about 18 years ago at my housewarming party. That day, these two pictures showing some of my guests. The interesting thing is, among those guests, I never imagined there could be 3 CIE Entrepreneur of the Year awardee in the future. My house is lucky, okay? First one, you see the person glass in the green shirt is Professor Fong. At that time, he just quit his tenure professorship from UC Santa Cruz and became a full-time CEO of a startup called Security. And he later became a CIE Entrepreneur of the Awardee in 2012. And tonight, I'm introducing the awardee. It's Ms. Shuhong, right? Entrepreneurial Awardee. And he and me are both Professor Fong's students. So you never know how teacher's career choice could impact students. The other CIE awardee is the guy in white shirt facing backwards, Leslie Bai. He was the CIE Entrepreneur of the Year awardee 2 years ago, 2017. At that time, 18 years ago, I just picked him up from the airport from San Francisco, and he just from Singapore come to Silicon Valley, found a job as an EMC engineer. And later on, of course, our friends, we all encouraged him to start his own business. And I remember 2 years after he started his own business, he told me he cannot believe he made more than $5 million the second year when he started. But the most important or unbelievable story is not about these two. It's about the third person in that room that day. Is Mr. Shuhong. Okay, Shuhong, can you remember how you look at that time? Many of your friends are still today in the table, right? Here's the one eating the food with the plate in the middle, you know, the guy sitting on the sofa, a bit far away from here. And later on, you're gonna see him on stage anyway. But at that time, he was still working at Connexent as an electrical engineer. But soon after that, I think I persuaded him to leave the job to join the startup, Security, to become an account manager. That sounds nice, but indeed, it's a sales job. Okay, in our ED business, sales account manager sounds nice. At that time, he was also taking, business class MBA program at the UC Berkeley Haas Business School. So I think, getting a sales job is good to get close up to the customer, to the money, right? And many great leaders actually not just good in the engineering because he is advanced IC design by training, but doing a sales. Actually, just like many CEOs, you have to be the greatest salespeople in the company. So I'm glad Shuhong accepted the offer and moved to a small startup. Actually, in 3 years, he didn't work long. He decided, went back to China to join his buddy, Mr. Zhang Tao, to start a little business called 大众点评, like a survey about the food or anything. I still remember the day, that we all sitting on the table, they talk about, the idea about doing this business, right? So sounds a good idea. we never imagined how great it could be until now. We realize it is an extraordinary story, unbelievable. And that's why he is the Entrepreneur of the Year today. Why? Let's go to see next slides. How he lived another life in the last 15 years after he went back to China, Shanghai, to start the company called Dianping.com. And I asked him to supply me some information about the company. You know, he was the group CFO, right? And he took the company to the public last September, and he replied, unfortunately, many of the data is not available for 2018. I can only give you 2017 data. I say, in this world of now, everything changes so fast. I need to get more recent data, right? He cannot release to me, you know, courtesy to his profession. So I did some of my own research, since it's a public company now. So what I just dig out an article 4 days ago from the renowned Fast Company magazine. They rated 50 most innovative companies in the world. And guess who is the #1 innovative company in the world? Meituan Dianping, which is co-founded by Shuhong, and he is CEO until last September before they took them to the public. So right now, Meituan Dianping is labeled as the most innovative company in the world, beating many well-known companies in the world. Believe it, Apple is listed at 17. Okay, what's the reason to back about that? Just let's look at some numbers. Let's click the slides, go to the next one. Okay, there are some numbers. This is number about the half year of 2018, only half year. So all the number I quoted, please double that, use your math, okay? And you can see how many transactions they did. 27 billion transactions worth about $34 billion in half a year. And that's serving 350 million users around the world in the 2,800 cities around the world. That's on average. It's more than 1,700 transactions using their company's app per second, 24 hours a day. Why make their company so successful? Because it's labeled as a super app. It's a transaction-based super app. And one thing, I don't know if you ever used the 大众点评, their mobile app. I use it because as many of friends, when we travel to Greater China area, everybody uses that to find out the restaurant, find out service information, from buying the movie ticket, so many things. One time, I remember last year when I went to Estonia, I tried to find some local restaurant, right? I opened up a Yelp, which is used most often in US, but I can barely find any reviews. Some of the restaurants only have like a 5.4, reviews, but not many restaurants are reviewed. But when I opened up 大众点评 app, in Europe, I found many, many reviews, okay? Maybe, why? Because there are enough Chinese tourists traveling the world, okay? In the last 3 years. That provided enough data for them, and those service is great for us. And nowadays, Meituan Dianping, they have the, ride sharing. I don't know, they acquired the famous Mobike, right? The #1 bike sharing company in the world for 2.3 billion, and they sell the movie ticket, they book hotel. So it's like a TripAdvisor, Yelp, Groupon, DoorDash, Uber, everything combined with one company. So imagine how much value they can create. And I asked his personal contribution in all this. It's just not just title, co-founder or CFO, group CFO. He's very low key. He didn't give much data. So what I found, he said one thing is he one time, lead about 6,000 salespeople. And the other time, he said he have done financing for their company in the last few rounds, get the investment about $13.3 billion. So I don't know any of you have ever borrowed the $13 billion in your life. But this is his little achievement. And I know right now he's still in a transition to become other roles, and he supported many programs, like CIE and the Berkeley school programs. And with his influence and the connection, I hope he can do more. And we are expecting more inspiring stories from him. Thank you.
Thank you, Raymond, for introducing Shuhong. Did you have a few words you'd like to share with everyone?
Yeah.
Awesome, go ahead.
So I sort of kind of the few. First of all, thanks Raymond for the very nice introduction, and also I should thanks for all my friends, Dr. Fang. Right, when I returned to China, Dr. Fang is very supportive. Right, I used to work for the Dr. Fang, and all the friends, and I very appreciated the CIE, the committee, to give me this award. And the one thing I want to share is the word of the entrepreneur, right, for this year. And I used to have a title in China, is the most lost CFO in China. Probably most of you don't know, because we burn a lot of money every year. It's record. I mean, the biggest capability we build up is how we burn the money for the last 10 years. So that's why we raised like 13.3 billion US dollars. It cannot be imagined. I mean, it's only in China. It's crazy. I should say thank you. Thank you for the CIE. Thank you for such a great events. Thank you.
Thank you so much again from Shuhong. Upcoming, I got to do some research. We'll be having someone named Denise Peck come up. Seeing that I went to Berkeley, I have to hate her because she went to Stanford. But after I looked into what she does, I think she's quite amazing. She really cares about the importance of soft skills, specifically why I work at Able to Shine, which is where I work, is because I think oftentimes I see in the Asian community a lot of really, really good hard skills, but sometimes it's lost upon when they go off to college, they do everything for college. Then after they finish college, they become a yappy. For those of you who are interested, you can check out Wong Fu Productions. They talk about what a young Asian professional is. I think the main thing that I would like these kids to do is be able to get what they're worth, nothing more, nothing less. So I'm excited to have Denise Peck come up to say a few words and introduce the Community Leadership Award.
Good evening. Thank you so much. I'm actually not an engineer, but thank you for inviting me here. I'm actually very pleased tonight to have the unique and distinctive opportunity to introduce my friend and collaborator, Buck Ji, for the Community Service and Leadership Award. Since today's conference theme is about inspiration, I thought I would just share with you what Buck has done that has really inspired me to do more for the Asian community. So I've known Buck since 2006 when we were both vice presidents at Cisco Systems, and he was general manager of the data center business unit at the time. One day, I didn't actually know him, but he reached out to me over the telephone, and he said he noticed that both he and I were the only two East Asian vice presidents in an engineering organization of 15,000 employees. And he said, what is going on here? What can we do together to change this? So he wanted to change and improve the low representative of Asian executives within Cisco, and he recruited me to work with him on this. So that was the start of our partnership, and to address the Asian glass ceiling, and we've been doing this since. First at Cisco, and then to Silicon Valley firms and beyond. Well, about 10 years ago, Buck actually retired from Cisco, and since then he's been serving the community in a variety of ways with a variety of organizations. Ascend, where I also am an executive advisor, the Asia Society, the Committee of 100, Angel Island Immigration Station Foundation, just to name a few, including Silicon Valley Community Foundation. And the way he works is across a number of different methods. So active board leadership, fundraising, mentoring and teaching, research and publication, pro bono consulting, and public speaking. He spearheaded many new initiatives. One of them is the working and influencing Stanford Business School to create an advanced leadership program for Asian executives, which is going on its 11th or 12th year now. You can read more about Buck's contributions to the committee in the event bio. He generously and tirelessly gives his talent, time, and resources and shares his business skills and credits with other people. He's a consummate connector, which means that he'll reach out in his vast network of acquaintances and friends and colleagues and he'll introduce people who don't know each other so that they can benefit from the association. If he sees an opportunity for them to benefit from it, he would have no problem getting us together. So what happens is he enjoys collaborating with other people, and when he does this, he inspires and influences others to the cause. What I'd like to discuss are two ways in particular that Buck energizes me that I find are highly unusual. The first of which is that Buck is actually extremely outspoken, publicly and sometimes very provocatively. So if you go to a conference and Buck is there, as in the audience, he's the first one to raise his hand at the end of a presentation, and he'll ask a very tough question. And he does this, however, from an informed perspective, so that he's actually articulating from a very reasoned point of view. We can all learn from Buck how to speak up and develop a stronger voice to address overlooked but important issues. Despite raising tough issues, however, I have found Buck to be an eternal optimist. And he always expresses hope and positive attitudes to continue finding solutions to problems. The second thing that I find unusual about Buck, and very inspiring as well, is that his generosity with his talent, time, and resources was never about enhancing his own visibility or for his own advantage. It was always about creating opportunity for other people. As an example, a few years ago, Buck quietly created a scholarship for his high school in Oroville, California, a town that many of us had never heard of until the dam broke, was in trouble in the news a couple of years ago. The question that I hear most often from Buck is, how can I help? So to summarize, I'm honored today to introduce Buck G, my friend and collaborator, to get this recognition and award from the CIE. To me, he is a true human force multiplier. His efforts are amplified through the efforts of others whom he inspires. He has inspired me and many others to give back and to fight for causes that are both large and small, visible and invisible. Please join me in congratulating Buck G as the 2019 winner of the Distinguished Community Leadership and Services Award.
Photo first. This works, right? Okay, great. First of all, I have a couple of slides, so if you can put the first slide up, great. All right, so to get things straight, I'm not here to inspire you. That's not what I do. The important thing, because my life doesn't make anything to do, the thing that I want to do tonight is challenge you, because you're all engineers, and when you see a problem, then you should have a challenge you can solve. And that's what I'm going to talk about tonight. So this slide is actually, this is the EEOC data that Denise and I work on. This looks at, over the last 9 years, the representation of individual contributors in Silicon Valley in high tech. And what you see is that as of 2015 and 2016 data is roughly the same, Asians are the largest group of workers as individual contributors, 47%, more than whites. There are more Asian men working in Silicon Valley now in white-collar jobs. There are more Asian women working in Silicon Valley now as white jobs. That's our success. That's not the problem. Okay, next slide. Here's the problem. We outnumber everybody. But when you look at the relative representation, and this chart is really looks at the ratio of percentage of managers divided by percentage of individual contributors. So if they're equal, it should be 1. Do everybody understand that? I hope your engineers should understand this. What you see is on the top line, whites. They're 31% above overrepresented. The second is Hispanics. They're 26% overrepresented. blacks are 15% overrepresented in management. The only group underrepresented is you, us. And if you look at that, it's been relative no change in 10 years. That's a problem. It's a problem that we can solve. It's a problem that Denise and I raised as she said, when she joined me at Cisco in development, there were 2 of us in development at VPs. That's something that we wanted to fix. This is something you can fix. But only you can fix it because this is you. This is your problem. We can help unless you do something, nothing will change. As you can see, nothing has changed. And that's because you haven't done anything. So what can you do? One of the things you can do is the kinds of things that we did at Cisco. So we got together a number of Asian executives, and we talked to John Chambers. And I'll tell you, paraphrase an hour's conversation. John said, "I'm glad so many Asian execs here at Cisco." I said, "John, actually, it's wrong. Actually, very few." And John said, "Buck, thank you for pointing that out. I didn't know that. What can we do about it? And I'll help you." So one thing you can do is raise the question, because by and large, people don't know this. Probably you don't know this. So if you don't know it, how do you expect them to know it? And unless they know about it, they're not going to solve it. And if they know about it, they will help you and support it. One time, in raising this question inside Cisco, I got an email from a director, a Chinese director, said, do we have somebody's permission to talk about it? And I said, you have my permission to talk about it. So you have my permission to talk about it and raise the question to your CEO, to your manager. That's something you can do. The other thing you can do is solve a problem that I found at multiple companies. Let's say a large search company in Silicon Valley, where we raised the question, and they said, we do an annual survey in our employee base, and where there's a problem, we fix the problem. And I said, well, here's the problem. And they said, it's really funny because in the annual surveys, Asians are the happiest people in this company. So one thing you can do is complain. Are you happy about it? If you're happy about this, don't do anything. But if you're not happy about this, the one thing you can do is complain. Because unless you complain, no one can do anything about it. So these are things that you can do. This is a challenge, right? There's nothing I can do to inspire you to do it. It is your responsibility. You look across the table at the engineer and do it for him or her. Don't do it for me. Don't do it for yourself. Do it for them. Do it for the people in this room. That's the challenge I want to leave you with. Okay? And if you don't like this, then change it. And that's the service you can provide. Okay, and that's what I leave you with. It's a challenge that only you can fix. Thank you.
Thank you, Buck. Those are the harsh, real words of truth. Definitely really, really good to watch out. Looking at that graph is just despicable, honestly. So just got to make sure we go out there and get what they're worth. I'm about to transition the stage to my co-MC. The last thing I want to say is actually related to what Buck had to say, is I think a good way to think about the change is for those of you who have watched Civil War. It's a movie that came out from Marvel recently. There's a quote that Spider-Man actually says. The first time that Tony Stark meets him, Tony Stark asks, hey, what helps you get up every day to do what you do? Then Spider-Man says, if you could do the things that I can, but you don't, and then the bad things happen, they happen because of you. So all of us, for our future, basically our posterity, I think it's up to us. I know I'm a little bit younger right now, so I can't really speak for kids, but when in a few years, if I have kids, then yeah, I gotta stand up for them, otherwise who else is gonna do it? Okay, without further ado, let's welcome the lovely Alicia to take over hosting duties.
Hey everyone, how's it going? Yeah, okay, let's do it again. How's it going? Nice, I love that. Okay, so I am super excited to introduce the introducer of the distinguished Distinguished Achievement Award in Technology and Humanities, John Shi. He is awesome. He's also a Berkeley graduate. So how many Berkeley people do we have out here, actually? We have quite a few. Okay, Stanford? Okay, a little bit less. John Chi's awesome. He does the work with the camera in the iPhone, so if you guys have iPhones on you and you look at it and you like the camera, you can thank John for that. So without further ado, John.
Hello? This one works. Actually, this is not for me. This is really for Dr. Wu Jun. Actually, it's my big honor to be the introducer of Dr. Wu for the Distinguished Award, Achievement Award of CIE San Francisco Technology and Humanity Award. In Chinese, it's called 中国工程师协会科技与人文奖. So what is this award? This award actually is established since 2005, and it's designed to encourage engineers and scientists to look beyond the science and technology and expand one's vision to other disciplines in humanities, such as literature, art, and music. In this way, we hope to promote the notion of a complete engineer who can innovate and solve problems from fresh and unconventional angles. So Dr. Chen just mentioned about the socially responsible engineer. Now we call it complete engineer. This is all about for the T&H award. So since 2005, we got 12 awardees. Some examples including 夏主卓教授、方玉山教授、沈月女士、王正芳教授. There's a lot of them. So then come back to Dr. Wu Jun. He is the awardee for this year. So by the definition, he has accomplishment in both engineering and humanities. From the engineering side, Dr. Wu was the expert in speech recognition, natural language processing, and web search. He received Google Engineering Award from his achievement in anti-spam. And then he became the Google's research scientist in 2002. He co-founded the Department of Search and the Chinese, Korean, and Japanese, it called the CKJ lab in 2003, and was the author of Google's CJK search algorithm. He invented so much technology for Google and highly appraised by the Eric Schmidt and Sergey Brin for his contributions. And then he left Google, joined Tencent, 中文是腾讯, as a VP in charge of search infrastructure map, search ads for 2010 to 2012. And he helped the company boost the search traffic and the revenue by 6-fold in 2 years. After that, he returned to Google as a principal research scientist for 2 years and developed the first online service of automatic answering for complicated questions in the world. Now, after that, he left Google and co-founded the Amino Capital, also called Z Park Capital, in 2014, and has invested more than 100 startups in the US. So, how about the humanities side? He wrote a lot of books. One of his books is called Civilization and Enlightenment, in Chinese is 文明之光, and published by 中国邮电出版社 in 2017. He also wrote quite other books like 浪潮之巅、数学之美、大学之路、硅谷之谜、智能时代、见识态度. One of the editor, 周云女士, basically comment about Dr. Wu's 文明之光 is 作者以深厚的技术沉淀和广阔的历史视野，加上深邃的人文精神情怀，将千年来的许多故事向我们娓娓道来. It's a very highly appreciated work. And also he has the 新浪微博, there's 200,000 fans. And also he is the 硅谷歌唱会创始人与 co-chairman. So with that, there's a lot of things Dr. Wu has done. and I cannot finish in 2 minutes. He's well-deserved. He has a PhD degree of computer science from Johns Hopkins University, and I received bachelor degree of computer science, master degree of EE from Tsinghua University. He also published 10 papers of journals and conference and granted 20 US international patents. And Dr. Wu is also a distinguished visiting professor of Shanghai Jiao Tong University, member of National Advisory Board of Writing School of Engineering at Johns Hopkins University, member of board of director of Citric Press, and an advisor of Ministry of Industry and Information Technology in China. Let's welcome Dr. Wu.
So thank you, John. Thank you, Andrew, and thank you, Raymond. And ladies and gentlemen, it was my great pleasure here today to accept the CIE Technology and Humanity Award. So thanks for CIE to acknowledge my book, Enlightenment and Civilizations. So our book introducing the civilization of the world back from ancient Egypt and Mesopotamia to the modern world. So first of all, actually, I would like to thanks to my wife Yan and for her support, because without her help, I couldn't finish all my work. So many people ask me why I want to write a book introducing the civilization of the world. Because I'm a research scientist, so I have many work to be done. But I spent lots of time writing this book like a history book. Because I was inspired by a gentleman called Yun Wen. It's probably in Cantonese, and in Mandarin it's called Shuhong. I don't know how many of you have ever heard this name. He lived in 19th century. Shuhong actually was born in China, but was brought to the States by an American couple. So he had the opportunity to get a very good education here and graduated from Yale University. And Shuhong said, I was fortunate to have the chance to enjoy the civilization of the Western world and to benefit from that. So I hope my fellow Chinese could have the same opportunity in the future and to benefit from it too. So Shuhong went back to China, so it's still in Qing dynasty at that time, and proposed his idea to Zheng Guofan, the prime minister of Qing dynasty at that time, and got his support. And then Shuhong recruited 120 teenagers and sent them to the United States to go to college here. So one of them is Zhang Tianyou, so the founder of CIE. So without Shuhong, it's impossible to have CIE. So that 120 students let Chinese people know the real thing, what happened in the Western world outside China. So when I came here 23 years ago to the United States, and I felt I was really lucky to be able to join a very good school here, to get a good education, to work in Google, and most of all, to enjoy the freedom and to benefit from civilization here. But unfortunately, most of my friends in China, most of my colleagues and classmates, they don't have this opportunity. Many people in China today still couldn't imagine that people can live their own lives as they wanted. Not depends on the government, but depends on their own will. So I feel I have the responsibility to introduce what happened outside China to them, and also to tell them the truth in history. So that's the motivation I wrote this book. So because in China, actually, in the history book, it introduced lots of emperors, kings, and their achievements. But to me, it's not that important if you look at the history in a very, very long term. I can give you a concrete example. So at the time of year 1 AD, so it's in Han Dynasty of that time in China, the GDP per capita was 450 US dollar at that time, according to the purchase power. So what's the GDP of year 1978, before China opened the door to the Western world? It reduced to 178 US dollar, which is 1/3 of that of South Sahara countries at that time. Which means Chinese people want to say, we have a long history, 3 years of civilization, and 3,000 years of civilization, and 5,000 years of history. But after hard working of 2,000 years, the GDP reduced from 400 to about a little more than 100. Many Chinese people pin their fortune to so-called like a good emperors, or like wisdom administrator officers. So that's their hope. But in that 2,000 years, China has lots of, I would say, in Chinese called Minjun, so like a very wise emperor, or like a very decent officials. That has a lot of such good people. But after 2,000 years, the GPT just dropped. That means you cannot depend on your fortune or on those emperors. Actually, in a long term, their influence is not that significant as people thought of. So from year 1978 to the last year, 40 years, Chinese GDP per capita increased from a little more than 200 to about 10,000, 50 times in 40 years. So what happened? People just changed their mind because they opened their door. So I would say it's the industrialization, globalization, investment on science and technology, and achievements in science and technology. That's the most important thing in history. So that's the story I want to tell my Chinese readers. So I would say, in a long term, we, the people, including engineers, are much more important than those politicians, kings, presidents, because we are building this world. So the last but not the least words I want to say, we should be proud of ourselves because we are the builder of the civilization. Thank you.